welcome to Four Men in America. We're coming to you from the Air Force Museum. And I'm sitting in front of a F-4 Phantom used in the Vietnam War, flown by Colonel Robin Olds and nicknamed Scat 27. And we thought this would be a good background for this show. We want to let you know that we lost our video during this presentation, but Paul and Don appreciate you watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell and like if you can. We're going to discuss the debate the other night between President Trump and Kamala Harris, and we'll also get into some interesting comments about January 6th. So join us, and coming on right now. Ron. Hello, Paul. How are you, sir?
Just fine, Don. Yourself? How's
I'm
everything
good.
over in Florida?
Everything's going good. We're getting rain again today, so typical end of summer weather for us. I want to let the audience know that Jeff Hooch is back in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, teaching, and Bobby Wilson got stuck on the freeway somewhere, so we're hoping he can join us during the show. But we'll press on with the show today, and we're going to start off talking about the last night's debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and so I want to get your opinion, Paul, on what you thought of the debate itself.
Well, I watched it. My wife wouldn't watch it. She thinks it's a waste of an hour and a half of her life. And having watched it, I kind of have to agree with her. The big thing that I noticed was that Kamala got under Trump's skin a couple of times, and he lashed out maybe a little more than I wished he would have been able to keep his cool all the way through. That would have been a much better show for us. I don't think that the debate is going to swing very many people one way or the other. He did hit some really good points about, you keep telling us what you're going to do if you become president, but you've been vice president for 3.5 years. Why didn't you do it then? Why? Even David Muir, who obviously works for the other side, did question her, about why all of a sudden 3 months before the election you've decided to tighten up the border, and she didn't answer it. Of course, she gave one of her nimby-pamby answers that didn't answer the question.
Right.
But I think anybody with a brain who heard that and said, "Yeah, wait a minute. Why are all of a sudden it's all important to close the border when you've left it open for 21 million, people to come in and destroy our country? You got Haitians eating chickens and dogs up in Springfield, Ohio. You've got mothers. I think there was a big congressional meeting yesterday, congressional committee meeting, with parents of you can't call them Gold Star parents. Their children weren't killed in war, although you could say that they're victims of the war that we're having with this influx, this invasion.
Yeah.
Just because the people coming in don't have rifles and helmets doesn't mean it's not an invasion.
That's right.
And when the president of a country allows his country to be invaded, it would seem to me there ought to be some just adjustment of his living status. And especially of his office status. It's just impossible for me to believe that he's getting away with this, and Congress is just letting him ride. It's just, the man should have been impeached and thrown out of office the day he let that gate open, the day he closed the XL pipeline. He's just been one thing after another. It's just such a horrible administration for our country.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that Trump made a good point. His closing argument was kind of in that vein, where you've had 3.5 years to screw everything up, and now you're claiming you're going to fix it, right? Which is not believable. I watched some of the stuff this morning. Some of the focus groups they put together. One of them was Dr. Phil, and it didn't seem like a lot of people were convinced by anything she said or that she said she was going to do. You know, so I think I agree with you. I don't think it swayed anybody. I personally, I don't think Trump. I don't think she got under his skin. I think Trump is so passionate about what's been done to this country now, and how they messed everything up so bad, and how well things were going other than COVID, and we're coming back together, and I think he's just upset by that. He's just very angered by that, and I think. Go ahead.
I appreciate what you're saying. His passion, I guess what I'm saying was that the things she said stirred that passion.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
would agree with that. Yeah.
That to the point that he became a little overzealous in his responses. I guess maybe rather than angry, or maybe that's the wrong word. He came back and said, "No, this is what I'm doing," but he did it from deep inside.
Yeah.
And better maybe if he did it more from the surface level.
The one thing I really liked was when he told her that he was speaking.
Yeah. Hoist on her own guitar.
Yeah. She didn't get that in on him. She lost the speaking belly. That was good. So here's something that I put together today, and I put this on. I don't know if you're on Truth Social or not.
I am. I don't look at it much.
Well, we're on there as the Village's Tea Party Patriots if you want to find us. But here's what I put down. I said, in answer to phony Kamala Harris mentioning legal matters, I just called them legal matters, President Trump should reply, quote, "And yet, with all your legal shenanigans, I am the voted for primary winner running for the U.S. president, and you are someone who had got no votes in the primary, who trashed the current office holder and knew of his deterioration all along. Shame on you and the Democrats."
Yeah, she's selected, not elected.
That would have been I think that would have been a great comeback, and that's all he should have said about, although he really didn't respond to the court stuff. She claimed she was going to be the prosecutor, but she's not a prosecutor. She's laughing too much. In the state, the way the state of the country is, all her smiling and laughing, and she wasn't cackling, but she was kind of giggling, and laughing and smiling. There's nothing funny about what's going on right now. And,
I think that's more of a nervous reaction to the fact that she doesn't know the answer to the question.
Yeah. Now, did you see this morning that they suspect that she had an earpiece?
Earpieces, yeah.
Yeah. So if that comes out to be proven, or more information, and not to mention that Trump was, he was debating 3-on-1, right? He wasn't just debating her. The two ABC people were fact checking him all the time and rebuttaling him, more than she did. So they were trying to help her out. But I guess she has a good friend that owns ABC or something like that?
Yeah, the head of Disney. She I can't think of a name now, but she introduced Kamala and her husband.
Yeah.
And that's pretty close.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah. I thought President Trump missed a golden opportunity. Kamala, when they got to talking about Ukraine, and Kamala said, "Well, we had to protect Ukraine's sovereignty against an intrusion in their border."
Right.
And I thought the president at that point should have turned and said, "What about our border and our sovereignty and protecting it from invasion?"
Oh,
He didn't pick up on that, or thought better of saying it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always a question of, and I watched a little bit of Dan Bongino this morning, and he said he's been in some congressional debates when he ran for office down in Florida, and he says you always come out of them thinking, "Oh darn, I should have said that, or should have said this, or there's some I forgot to say this or forgot to say that," right? So yeah, it's I like you said, it's not going to move the needle. It hasn't moved the needle. I don't think she's convinced anybody she can do the job, and so we go on from here. Although I heard this morning that they're asking for more debates. Is that true? Have you heard that?
That's what I heard. That before, just as the one ended last night, Camilla's campaign said they wanted another debate. I think they thought they really pulled one off on them.
Yeah, and Trump's reply was, "You blew it." He's not going to give him any more. So pretty interesting.
Yeah. I have a niece down in Louisiana, and I sent a little video. Actually, it was just kind of a picture with a video of the relative cost of things in 2020 and the cost of things today under Trump and under Biden.
Yeah.
And I got back from her, really kind of surprised me. When I responded to her response, I said, "Congratulations, you hit every one of the DNC points, talking points. Sexual abuse, breaking the law, convicted felon, da 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 da." I mean, she had them listed. They weren't quite numbered, but they could have been.
So she's drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and I thought, man, and I wrote her back, and I was trying to, you want to retain a family relationship, and I said, just remember, me and your father both went to Vietnam to fight communism, and now you guys are trying to elect it to the highest office in the land.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That ought to hit home with her.
I hope so. I haven't heard back from.
Yeah, that ought to hit home. Well, that's obviously you touched a nerve because, yeah, that's that. We have a good friend, and Frank Ananori, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Frank is. He starts crying when he talks about it. What's happening and what could happen, man. I mean, he breaks down. He just can't believe it, and just like the rest of us guys.
Pretty hard to believe, but
we can't believe it either. It's what happened. It's what happens when with the ignorance in the schools and the school systems and the way kids are raised, and not necessarily from their parents, but the parents. So many parents rely on the schools to raise their kids, which is a huge mistake, and they get influenced by stuff. I remember some people coming home from school and I was told stories of other friends that their kids, that they didn't believe we should have dropped the atomic bomb, for instance, right? And, when they're told the truth of what was really going on and that, 4 to 5 million Americans would have died trying to invade Japan, they changed their minds. And those kids that were over there in those Pacific Islands fighting on each of those islands, they weren't looking forward to doing that, invading Japan. So Truman had to drop the bomb, and he did, and he was a Democrat. So they want to forget about that stuff, right?
Yeah, Mary Margaret was watching a documentary on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and some news commentator with a microphone was talking to some GIs who were lining up, preparing for the invasion of Japan, and asked them what their thoughts were about the atomic bomb being dropped on Hiroshima. And the guy said, "That was the first time I thought I was going to live through this war."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
I know it had an unbelievable, a psychological impact on our troops. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they were dreading, going any deeper into the Pacific, and especially invading Japan. So I want to tell our audience and let you know this picture is from the Air Force Museum, and it's the airplane belonged to Colonel Robin Olds, OLDS, he was stationed at Ubon, Thailand, the same base that I was at. I got there about a year after he left, and he actually had more than 2 MiG kills, but he didn't go into counting them. He said these 2 were confirmed, and he was happy with that. But his airplane, he started flying P-38s in World War II, and then he went to P-51s He never got into Korea, so but his planes were always he nicknamed them Scat, S-C-A-T. So this was Scat 27, and it's a beautiful new display at the Air Force Museum. They have a nice display at Pima Air Museum too. They have an outside F-4 that I actually worked on in Thailand. That was at Ubon by tail number, and then the inside bird is one of the F-4s that they flew as the Thunderbirds. So you can get a real good look at the F-4s at Pima Air Museum. And I recommend everybody go. Anybody in the audience that's watching, if you're in Arizona, in Tucson, go to Pima Air Museum, take the tour. It's really cool, and see all the different aircraft. They've got a wonderful display, and they have really good hot dogs. They have the best hot dogs in Pima County, as far as we're concerned. So we used to go just to eat the hot dogs and skip the tour after the first time. So anyway, let's get to some more questions that I had, and the big one was the debate. Now here's we kind of touched on this a little bit, but here's what I wrote down. Do you think people believe Harris can fix what she and Biden broke the last 3.5 years? Or does she even recognize that it's broken? And we kind of talked about that a little bit, but like I said, when I saw from the focus groups, they didn't think, they weren't convinced that she's going to be able to do that. What do you think?
Well, my first thought is, does she want to fix what they broke?
Right.
They wouldn't have broken it if they didn't want it, if they wanted it fixed.
Yeah. Does she believe it's broken? Right.
Right. Well, yeah. I think this was their big plan.
Yeah.
This is just a continuation, interrupted by the fact that Hillary didn't steal enough votes.
Yeah.
And let Trump in accidentally.
Right.
Because it was going to be Obama and then Hillary and then, well, probably 2 terms of Hillary. And poor Joe wouldn't have gotten his chance to deal what he's done to the country.
Yeah, that's
and why
right.
he picked Kamala, you just have to wonder about a woman that got 0% during the primaries.
Yeah.
I mean, statistically unmeasurable number of votes, and it picks her to be his vice president when there were 15 other possible candidates that could have been his vice president, and maybe a whole Senate full of candidates could have been his vice president. So what is there about her that made him think that would be a benefit to this country? And I think the answer is he didn't think it would be a benefit to this country. It would be a benefit to his ability to destroy our republic.
Yeah. Based on her term as a senator, where she was the most radical senator in the Senate by far, more radical than Bernie Sanders or anybody else, and that's a stated fact. And she, I don't know. I just don't think they recognize that it actually is broken. And I think I saw a clip from Bernie Sanders the other day where he told a reporter that she's not really changing her position. She's doing what she has to do to win. So I mean, if that isn't frank enough for you, if you don't understand that, then I don't
I'm
know.
reminded of the old story about the newspaper reporters asking a politician, "You don't seem to be able to give us a straight answer about anything, so let me give you something easy. What's your favorite color?" Well, plaid, of course.
Plaid. Yeah, there you go. Multicolor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So okay, so let's get off Kamala here and let's go on to. And I have to put up a kind of a viewer's discretion now, because if we talk about January 6th, and there's a good chance that YouTube might take us off the air or ban us or whatever. We'll be okay on Rumble. So I'm just letting everybody know, and letting you know, Paul, that that's January 6th is a sensitive issue. Just like it's an opportunity to get censored, just like COVID was, right? Whenever you said the wrong thing about COVID, they were taking people off of YouTube, etc. So So January 6th, I don't know if you got a chance to watch the other day. Marjorie Taylor Greene had a special committee hearing on January 6th. Did you get a chance to see it?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay. Well, it was current, and he had several people there. He had a couple of wives there. One of the husbands is out of jail now, and the other husband is still in jail. The one that's in jail is a Oklahoma Cherokee Indian that was in the Marines and fought for this country in Iraq, and he never went into the Capitol itself. And there was also a guy there that, from what I understood, his last name was Evans, and from what I understand, he only had to go to jail for the weekends. He was off during Monday through Friday so he could work, but on the weekends he had to go to the federal detention or something weird like that, and do that for a few months. And then they talked about, there was a lawyer there, an attorney there that's representing the woman whose Cherokee husband is still in prison. And he gave a really long talk, and it was very interesting, talking about, he talked about the perversion of existing law, how they've melded and bended laws to try to make them apply to some of these people, right? That they really didn't break any law. So they've created these laws out of existing laws. How the prosecutorial discretion has been totally abused by the government attorneys, and then one of the really interesting people there was a reporter. She's a journalist and she works for the Gateway Pundit, who of course the left and the elites and the know-it-alls don't even recognize as a reliable source of information, right? The Gateway Pundit. She's done a bunch of stories about this, and I don't know if you've heard of Roseanne Boyland. Have you heard that?
Yeah, she was beaten to death by the Capitol Police.
Yeah, she was beaten to death by a police woman. After they were all in that tunnel, I guess, at the Capitol, and some Capitol police officers started firing his pepper balls and tear gas, and the crowd panicked, and he actually shot it over the heads of some of his own police peers, right? And so they panicked too, because some of them, even though they had on masks and stuff, some of them got affected by it. And so it was just a mass of humanity. A lot of them, originally she got trampled, and she got actually hit by the pepper balls or the mace, and then when she was down on the ground, when they finally got some people off of her and they started unpiling and trying to save people, somebody was trying to save her life, and this police woman was beating on her with this. They're not sure if it was a baton or a metal baton or whatever it was. Anyway, I never really heard that story about her.
There's a video of it.
Oh yeah, she had the video and they played it there. So there's video proof. I mean, it's not hearsay, along with several witnesses. Pretty awful stuff. So they said as a result of that, that's why the crowd there got so angry about it, because they were trying to grab her, they were trying to save her, they were trying to tell the police that she was dying, because she was already dead, and and they made that all look like they had just rioted, just spontaneously rioted. So that's what the January 6th committee did. They didn't really explain that video of what was really going on. So anyway, I didn't know if you'd heard all about that. You know about Ashley Babbitt. Now, was she shot in the shoulder? Or was she shot in the chest?
She was kind of shot in the neck.
In the neck.
He shot her from the side.
Yeah.
And it may have hit her arm, but what killed her, I think, was in the neck.
Okay.
She bled out pretty quickly.
Yeah. So he might have hit her. He might have hit her main vein. Yeah. So I think a lot of people know about Ashley Babbitt, but the unfortunate thing was there was a, totally, as far as I'm concerned and what I could read, I don't know why the guy shot her, really. I mean, I don't understand it. A defenseless woman. She was trying to climb through a broken window, but why he'd shoot her, I don't have any idea. But I guess he just he just panicked, I guess. And
he panicked. He had panicked, but he's supposed to be a professional.
Yeah, right.
And,
yeah,
he violated a number of police rules.
Yeah.
In shooting an unarmed person.
Yeah.
Without any real threat to himself.
Yeah.
And I think they have perceived that if 15 people came through that window, he was going to be in a big mess. But to shoot somebody climbing through a window like that is no direct threat, and then getting sent off to the Air Force Base to hide for 2 or 3 months,
right,
in the officers' quarters
at our expense,
and then to be completely exonerated and absolved of all responsibility for what happened, is
just wrong.
There was an awful lot of absolution for people who did things like when these guys were shooting paint or rubber bullets into a relatively quiet crowd, and stirred them up.
Yeah.
You can't hit a wasp nest with a stick and not expect to see a wasp or two.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's what these guys were doing. I mean, they shot one guy right through the cheek.
Yeah.
Things they're not ping pong balls. They're pretty solid projectiles.
Oh yeah.
Less than lethal, but they're still pretty potent. And this guy got hit and it went right through his cheek into his mouth.
Wow.
So that's why there was a lot of unhappiness in the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if I don't know whether I'm wandering too far afield here, but you talk about Ray Epps and why he got a slap on the wrist when he sat there on video, national television, and said, "We got to go into the Capitol."
Right, antagonizing people.
That was the night before that day.
Yeah.
And then there was the tower commander. Do you remember anything about that, Don?
No, I don't know. I haven't heard about that.
They had set up the Capitol building for the inauguration, and they had this great big tower that they were going to mount cameras on that looked down on the patio where the inauguration was going to take place. Right. And there was a guy up there with the bullhorn telling people to go into the Capitol and rally people to the open doors. And we don't know anything about him either. There's just video of him doing it, but they can't seem to find out who he is. Mm. So there's just a lot of things that seem to have been swept under the rug.
Well, and there's, of course, there's just footage of all kinds of footage of the Capitol Police letting people in and giving them a tour.
Yeah.
And patting guys on the back and going inside and walking around and then peacefully walking back out and
the QAnon shaman, remember him with the buffalo horn hat?
Oh yeah, he was all friends with the guys.
We got videos of him being escorted by the Capitol Police around the Capitol.
Right. Yeah.
And as soon as some of that came out,
as soon as Tucker put it on TV,
he was the day before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen with all of it. The SCOTUS, Supreme Court said that law that they perverted was wrong, and they had to throw it out. But I don't know. I guess they're just dragging their feet, taking their sweet time about clearing these guys now that they convicted on that Enron. They call it the Enron law, right? Disturbing a public event or something like that. And they had to do with shredding of documents or something.
Right.
That's what it was intended for, right? Anyway,
I think it's pretty obvious that the Department of Justice was using a sledgehammer to swat mosquitoes, just to make sure that everybody knew who they were and that they're the big boy on the block and you can't fight City Hall.
Well, one of the things that these people testified to, and I don't know if you knew this or not, when they got in, the first thing they were presented were a bunch of indoctrination documents about MAGA and Make America Great Again and everything bad about being associated with that and all the other stuff that goes with all the propaganda. And you heard about that?
No, I hadn't heard.
Yeah, they were actually
was,
they were handed a booklet to study about that. So, and then the other thing that I heard a little bit of, but they confirmed it. They said whenever they complained to somebody on the outside and that person contacted the DC jail and talked about it or called them about it, that they immediately cracked down on those guys and turned up the punishment. One of the things they did was they turned off the water for days, right? So they didn't have any fresh water. They didn't have any fresh toilet water. I mean, that's pathetic, you know.
Well, it's also unconstitutional.
Yeah, it's unconstitutional. It's a
Our
violation of civil rights.
government's supposed to be following the Constitution.
Yeah, right.
And there are rights that prisoners have
Yeah.
that are not being properly administered.
And they also said that the U.S. Marshals went into the D.C. jail. This is over a year ago, and did a big inspection, and they wrote a long report about all the things that were going on, including the turning off the water and the smell in the place and the human waste on the floor and a bunch of other stuff. And then, to date, nothing's been really done about it. They said, but when somebody goes there to see the guys or talk to them, or they clean everything up real nice and tidy, so it just looks great, right, when they go in there, and then when they leave, they let all go to heck again. So it's just un-American. It's unconstitutional. It's just pathetic, and we can't let them get away with this stuff. Somebody's got to pay the price for this stuff someday.
You're absolutely right, Don, and that's exactly why the real president, was almost assassinated the other day, because they know that the wrath of God is coming if he gets elected.
Yeah.
They know Gitmo has just been shined up to take a whole bunch of folks that have been violating the law, committing treason. Maybe some payments that have been made to certain high-level individuals in the administration, whose son is a crackhead and going to be has pled guilty to tax evasion.
Yeah,
he didn't pay taxes on money that came in from out of the country. So, yeah, there's some people who are, they're in deep stuff. If the wrong person gets elected.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Paul. I really believe this too, and I was joking about this to a friend of ours. We were talking about Hunter Biden, and I said, Trump is the kind of guy that when he gets elected, everybody will expect him to do something. He'll pardon Hunter Biden. He will.
I think he's already pretty much said anybody who didn't commit a crime, like assaulting a police officer, or breaking a window, or doing something like that. But anybody who just walked into the Capitol, looked around, walked back out,
will get a pardon or
accommodation.
Yeah.
But these people's lives have been ruined. I mean, let's face it. They pull you out of your job for a year.
Oh yeah.
It's difficult to get back into the swing of things, and then some who have gotten out of jail have been chastised and what's the word I'm looking for?
Harassed by their neighbors or friends, or ostracized.
Ostracized by their neighbors and by their employers, and not being rehired.
They said that a lot of them testified to that, and they said many of them were subject to SWAT raids. They said all they had to do was call them, and they would have come down and talked to them, and they sent the SWAT team out after them, right?
Yeah, well, have I talked to you about Steve Friend? Steve Friend is an ex-FBI agent. He's written a book called True Blue, I believe it's called. Anyway, he worked 7 years to get into the FBI. Finally got in. They sent him out to Oklahoma to work with the Indians, because whenever any crime that's committed on the reservation is a reservation crime.
FBI.
But sometimes they need help, like with the lab work and stuff like this, that they don't have on the reservation, so the FBI helps them with that.
Right.
And he was working on that, and they pulled him and moved him to Daytona Beach, Florida, to work on child trafficking and sex trafficking and exploited children. Mm-hmm. Then they pulled him off to work on January 6th, to round up January 6th suspects.
And he refused?
And they came in one morning and said, tomorrow we're going to do a SWAT raid on John Smith, whoever he was. And Steve said, well, wait a minute, I talked to the guy. I interviewed him. I've got a 302 and all that kind of stuff. And he said, he's told me if you want me to come in, just call me. I'll come in. And the guy said, no, we're not going to call him and come in. We're going to hit his house at 6 o'clock in the morning with armored trucks, armored people, guns, lights, the whole thing. And Steve said, I'm not going to do that. That's not right. And so they fired him. Well, they didn't fire him. They suspended him without pay. Yeah. So he couldn't get another job because he's still under contract to the FBI. Mm-hmm. And finally he had to quit so that he could go get another job.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's that's how they treat whistleblowers.
What's his name again?
Steve Friend, Friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book. What was the book he wrote?
Yeah, he wrote a book. True Blue, I'm pretty sure is the name of the book.
Steve Friend, True Blue.
Yeah. And he does a show now. He does a show now on Rumble on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Oh, I have to watch it. Yeah.
It's under the podcast is the American Radicals.
Okay.
And they call themselves the Suspendables. It's like Hillary called us deplorables. They call themselves the Suspendables. And, there's 3 of them at least that have been suspended by the FBI for whistleblowing, which of course is illegal. You're not supposed to be able to retaliate.
Yeah, any retaliation is illegal. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's really interesting. I wanted to finish up tonight by recommending, and if you have any recommendations for, and that's one of them that you just gave, his Steve Friend on Rumble, right?
Yeah.
Some other recommendations you have for other people on some of these channels on Rumble and YouTube. And I can tell people who some of the people I follow on Rumble are, I look at Redacted. Have you ever seen Redacted?
That's Redacted, yeah.
Redacted has got the guy that was formerly on
Clayton.
Yeah, there you go. Clayton Moore used to be on Fox, right? And there's another one called Viva Frei, Frei. You ever watch that?
No, I haven't seen that one.
That's really good. Viva Frei, Frei. Dan Bongino, of course.
Right.
Dan is really good. Tucker Carlson is on Rumble. And of course, 4 Men in America is on Rumble. So just to put in a plug for this little show. And Sebastian Gorka's got he's got a real good Rumble channel too. America First was.
Yeah, is Kash Patel on there too?
Yeah, he is sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Kash Patel and somebody else, I don't remember who else it was. They said that Biden's going to be out of the presidency before January 20th. They're going to install Kamala into the presidency for January 20th. And then Patty's theory is that they'll install Kamala and then they'll declare another health emergency with COVID, and she'll be the president. There won't be any election. I said.
Well, I wouldn't doubt that. I think the next one's going to be monkeypox, not COVID, because we already know COVID's a joke.
They've tried a little bit of that with monkeypox, but it ain't going to go because you can't catch monkeypox. Most people can't catch monkeypox, right?
Well, the World Health Organization has declared it an international emergency.
No, of course, yeah. So okay.
Anyway,
I want to give you some of the YouTube channels that I really recommend, and we'll start out with Alex Christoforou, CHRISTOFOROU. Alex is the guy in Cyprus that does a walk around show from Cyprus every day. I don't think he's missed a day since I've been watching him, and he just basically covers news, big news, both in Europe and the U.S., and he covers the Ukraine very good, and he covers Russia real good on Russia. There's another great show from, it's called Israel Update. And these are a couple guys, Michael Duran and Gadi Tab. Gadi Tab is in Israel, and he's been involved. He used to be a political commentator in Israel. And Michael Duran is in Washington, D.C. They have just an excellent show. They're on every Tuesday. They'll give you really good information about what's going on in Israel and the Middle East. And Viva Frei, F-R-E-I, is also on YouTube. Another good show is the Duran, where there's a couple of guys that discuss current events. Duran is D-U-R-A-N. Let's see what else I got here. S2 Underground is very good. Do you ever watch that, Paul?
No.
S2 Underground. He's kind of a what do I want to say? Kind of a specialist in foreign affairs and interrogation and stuff. And he kind of covers events around the country and in the world that kind of ring his bell as far as we should pay attention. Like he talks about things like these food processing plants that have burned and railroad accidents kind of out of the blue and all kinds of things like that. That's the kind of things he covers all the time. And S2 Underground, that's called. And another good one is the IDF has a real good channel too on YouTube, the Israel Defense Forces. There's a real good channel called the Liberal Hive Mind, H-I-V-E-M-I-N-D. It says everything you want to know about the hypocrisy of the left. He's really good. He puts together a really good show. And you know,
I get that on my email.
I was watching Bongino the other day, and he said, people talk about the hypocrisy of the left all the time. He says, I got to give you guys, a headline here. They don't care. They could care less that they're being hypocritic, right? They don't, and they really don't. They just throw it out there, whether it's they said it before or not, right? Doesn't matter to them. It really doesn't. So let's see what else I got here. I think I've covered them all. There's another good guy from Europe. He's in the UK and he covers the Ukraine war really good. His name is Alexander Mercouris, Mercouris. He's got a real good channel. And then there's a couple of economic channels that are pretty good. I don't see them here right now. That'll just give you some idea. If I have more, I'll let people know. But there's really a lot of good independent information out there. And I wouldn't label any of it as propaganda. I kind of look at it as truth, right? Truth is not propaganda. And it's kind of our duty to spread the truth. So we hope we're doing that every week. And doesn't look like Bobby's going to make it today. So anything else you'd like to talk about, Paul? Anything going on in the local area that you want to bring to attention?
Well, let's see. We had a Trump rally caravan last Saturday.
Oh, good. You got Trump in Arizona tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I think he's been into Tucson.
He's going to be in Tucson, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to make it, but some of our other people are going to be there. But yeah, we had 120 some odd cars lined up around. It ran about a 15-mile run through Tucson.
Good for you. Great. Yeah, and, that's good.
So we got the word out that he's coming and that we support him.
Great.
And
good job.
Yeah, and I'm looking at some of the candidates that we've got running. We've got a good candidate here. Her name is Heather Lappin. She's running for sheriff, opposing Chris Nanos.
Yeah, that's the one that Jeff Ooch has talked about. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
And Chris missed going to jail by the skin of his teeth.
Really?
About 7 years ago, he and two of his chief deputies had discovered that the county attorney has control of what they call the RICO funds. This is all the
oh yeah, I remember
money.
all that. Yeah, I remember all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They spent about $750,000 out of the RICO funds, one of which was the chief deputy's daughter wanted to run the jail cafeteria. So they took like $250,000 and refurnished the cafeteria so she could run a nice place. Anyway, when they got indicted, one of the chief deputies committed suicide.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
yeah.
leading one to think he must have had some reason to not want to be here on Earth when all this went on around him.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I think his name was Radke, he went into court and they just gave him please don't steal anymore, and sent him on his way. And then all the charges were dismissed.
Yeah. Then they re-elected Nanos, right?
Then they re-elected Nanos.
Yeah.
And now he's running against Heather, and we're all pulling for Heather and hoping that she can pull this off, because I've talked to her and she's pretty strong on the Constitution.
Yeah.
So that's what we need is constitutional sheriffs.
Oh yeah, yeah. She needs to join up with that crowd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sheriff Mack is we kind of consider him a friend. You know, he came to the Sarita Tea Party twice to talk to us. So yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, I'm a life member. I'm a lifetime sergeant in his Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association.
Good for you.
I helped with his congressional campaign when he was running up in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I would drive up and stand in the heat and get signatures for his petition. So Sheriff Mack and I are pretty close. Not real close because he lives up there and I live down here. But if I call him, he knows who I am.
Well, you're a trooper, and I'll let the audience know. I remember when you went down and helped protect the recruiting offices when the terrorists were trying to. Well, as a matter of fact, they were successful in a couple places in the country.
Not where I was.
Not where you were, right? So, hats off to you, Paul. You're a trooper for sure. Not many people will do that, do that kind of thing. So, we just had. I wanted to. Before we leave, I wanted to see what you thought about and you brought it up earlier, the Haitians up in Ohio. There's a police report this morning that they've arrested several people for trying to get the geese out of the lake there in Springfield.
Yeah,
So-
the Babylon Bee posted a little article that said the cats in Springfield, Ohio are protesting for their lives right now.
Well, there's a meme on True Social. I don't know if you've seen it or not, where Trump is sitting on his airplane, surrounded by cats and ducks. It is really cool. So it's quite a picture. I'll try to bring that. I'll bring that picture in the next show. So okay, well, we'll wrap it up here, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Paul, for getting on today. We missed Bobby and we missed Jeff. We hope that you guys can join us next week. Hit the subscribe button and hit the like button if you like what we're doing. And don't forget to hit the little reminder bell. That'll let you know when we post the show. This show will be posted up probably on Friday. Might be up early on Thursday. So anyway, thanks again, Paul. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you, and we will see you next week.